Hi everyone, Sergio here, and this is Elsewhere. This is version 003. So let's talk about the game a little bit. I started working on Elsewhere about maybe 5 or even 6 years ago, like way before Hearthlands. Hearthlands, actually it's the middle of May, which means that Hearthlands is about 5 years old now. So yeah, who would have thought? Yeah, and this was before I started making this game, just basically to learn OpenGL and 3D game programming in general, and the stuff that I learned from this helped greatly to develop Hearthlands. I'm not sure if I would have been able to make Hearthlands even without this, without trying to do this first. So basically what I wanted to do is I wanted some kind of 3D engine like Minecraft-like with the large or even infinite world that is loaded as you go. Not just loaded, but generated in front of you as you move through the world. And well, Minecraft looks very primitive, but when you actually try to do this, it turns out to be very, very challenging, because of how much information there is to work with. The world is huge and it's dynamic. So in most games, I mean, you can have pretty great graphics as long as you upload all the graphics to the GPU, and most of the level is static, right? But this is dynamic, so you can break any block, you can place any block anywhere. So the world is, you can't just upload the whole scene, the whole geometry to the GPU once there's a change, because it will be very, very slow, and you can't upload like any individual block. So you have to come up with some ways of optimization. And just in general, there's so much data to work with that you need to think, okay, how do I store it differently, you know? How can I optimize this? So for example, for multiplayer, there's so much data going back and forth between the server and the client, so I had to come up with the way to zip it. So you archive the data, and it all has to happen within one frame. So for example, there's 60 FPS right now, 61 even, 60 FPS, which comes down to, I think, 16 milliseconds per frame, and in 16 milliseconds you need to generate the world, you need to load it, you need to send it to the GPU, and you need to render it, plus all the other mechanics that work in the background. So like the berries can appear, the crops grow, and all that kind of stuff. So the world is changing in the background. So yeah, so basically there's a lot of stuff under the hood, and especially a lot of things are counterintuitive, especially since it's Java. You know, Java is if you if you want it to run fast and smooth, there are a lot of counterintuitive things that you have to do to achieve that. So this is kind of one of the reasons why the game took so long to make, because I had to learn all that. Of course, if I would have started making it like 1 year ago and worked on it full time, then I would probably achieve that in 1 year, or even less maybe. But yeah, another reason why the game took so long, well, of course I was working on Hearthlands, and I had other stuff that I was working on, and I had to work on this in my spare time basically. But another reason is that I didn't really know what I'm gonna do with it, right? So I was making an engine, and so I would ask myself, like, what do I want? What do I need in this engine, regardless of what kind of game I'm making? And for example, I would say, okay, I need a lighting system. So I would make a lighting system and I would test it. I would see that it, that there are no bugs, that it's fast enough, and so on, that, the frames are all equal length, which is a very tricky thing to do, actually. Yeah, and then I would say, okay, I need multiplayer, so I would work on multiplayer. So I've been basically adding this functionality, but I didn't really know what the game is supposed to be in the end. And yeah, plus the thing is, I think in general in programming, when you finish working on some challenging problem, it's very easy to then just lose interest, It's actually getting dark, so it's gonna be dark soon. I can just cheat in some torches just in case. So yeah. Plus, so I would basically like stop working on the game for a few months, and then return to it, having learned something new, and I would look at the game and I would think, yeah, I need to rewrite this. I think I rewrote the game maybe like 5 times, sometimes from scratch. Yeah, let's put some torches down so it's not quite dark. Yeah, and I kind of still don't really know what this is gonna be in the end, because as I've said, I'm making this for fun, I don't have a salary, so I set the goals as I go, basically. So yeah, I made some sticks, and I also need some stones. Actually, I need to be in a sandbox mode off, otherwise I just break everything instantly. So every once in a while I would have an idea of what I want to make this into, and then I would try it and think, no, that's not really that fun to do. So I would maybe take a break or go back to the engine and do something with the engine, and so on. And then at some point, like, another thing that I'm very interested in is procedural generation. And I've been always, because, well, the thing about procedural generation is that it's a really great thing to keep the game replayable, and keep the developer interested in continuing with the game. That's why Hearthlands has random maps and things like that. And when you're working on the game, you know the game pretty well. So in order to have fun playing it, what fuels the development process, in my case at least, in order to keep it fun, it needs to be able to do something unpredictable, and the more procedural generation is in the game, the more unpredictable it is. You launch it, like today I launched the game and I didn't know which biome I will spawn at. So this is actually a pretty good biome. You can see it now, but I like the color of the grass and the trees and stuff like that. There are obviously like deserts and jungles and all kinds of things in this game. So yeah, so I had this idea of making a world generator. So I would just like in Excel, I would write down what kind of biomes I want, what kind of plants I want in the biomes, what kind of rocks, and things like that. And initially, I wanted to make something like, you know, Dwarf Fortress. I think I think most programmers at some point, most indie game programmers, at least at some point, thought of making their own Dwarf Fortress, and I think there are countless projects unfinished, unreleased, lying around on people's hard drives. So I had one my own, and then so I kept working on this world generation, kind of just like a concept, and then I thought, why not just combine these two things? So I made a world generator with this engine, using this engine. And what was really surprising to me is how much fun it is to just walking around, you know? Like I would launch the game every once in a while, I would launch it, and I would just wander about in the world. You never know what's gonna happen. Like I don't know. You can see on the minimap there are mountains in front of me, but I don't know what's behind those mountains, and it's very interesting to just, like, right now I want to go there, and I want to see what's behind those mountains. It's too dark, unfortunately. I may make a pause and just, you know, skip the night. I don't have a cheat for skipping the night yet. So yeah. So there is another thing with me, is that I think it's probably a flaw, that I kind of hesitate showing work in progress. So when I came up with this world generator, I didn't really feel like it's worth showing to anybody. So, but at some point I thought to myself, well, what do I need to finish this? Because, like, I don't like when there are like placeholders and things like that, when certain things are unfinished. It can be like a very early version, like this for example is a very early version, but at least it doesn't have to have, like, you know, unfinished functionality in it, so it has to be somewhat polished. So at some point I thought to myself, well, what do I need to finish it? And not finish it, but to like make it release worthy. And it turned out that actually not much. I needed to remake all the graphics, because I was using like random graphics for everything, and I found a couple of artists who made these graphics for the game, and I don't know, like, I really like this style of graphics. It's not quite cartoony, but it's not like realistic, because this game cannot be photorealistic because of the blocks and stuff. So yeah, and then when I released the trailer and the first version of the game, well, basically the same thing that happened to Hearthlands when I first released Hearthlands happened to Elsewhere as well. When Hearthlands was first released, oh, and it's a meadow with a whole bunch of flowers. Wow. So when Hearthlands was first released or announced, some people on the internet they said, well, it's just another city building game. Like, what's the point in making those? And I thought to myself, like, this is like, I didn't even know what to say to that, because first of all, it was back in 2014 So back in the day, there weren't very many city building games, and I actually see now on the minimap, there's a volcano there. Honest to God, I didn't plan this. It's the first time I found volcano. I need to enable the flight mode here. The first time I found volcano, like just by starting a random map. Usually I need to like increase the probability of volcanoes to find one, and then look at the biomes and stuff and find volcano that way. But this is just the first time I found it like legitimately. This is what I'm talking about when I talk about procedural generation. The game always surprises you. So yeah, what was I talking about? So first of all, there weren't very many city building games back in the day. There were impressions games, of course, the old ones, like Zeus, Caesar, and Pharaoh, and Emperor, stuff like that. There was Majesty. Majesty is a little bit different, of course, but it also had indirect control of the units, which I really like in strategy games. And well, Banished, I don't remember if it was around back in 2014. It probably was already, but I mean, it's a very different game, of course, to Hearthlands. And games like Dwarf Fortress, Prison Architect, RimWorld, I think already was released at that point. Not quite remember again. And those games they're all similar in a way, but there wasn't a city building game like set in a fantasy world when Hearthlands got released. And well, that's kind of the reason why I made it. Because I wanted to play a certain game, and there wasn't one available on the market. So I thought to myself, well, I'm just gonna make one myself. And another thing is, well, maybe there were a lot of city building games like Hearthlands back in the day. What's the point in making one more? And the thing is, the answer is, why not? Why not? Because, like, let's say I like strategy games. I like strategy games where economy is very important, resource management, where you have to manage your subjects and things like that. And I would love there to be a lot of games in this genre. There are a lot of games in this genre now. Is this the reason to stop making them? I don't think so. Why not? Like, I like grand strategy games as well, like the stuff that Paradox makes, and I would love them to make more games like that, like maybe Vic 3 or CK 3 would be great, even though it doesn't have to be that different, but I don't know, it's just gonna be fresh. If other people want to start making grand strategy games, I only welcome that, because there's more stuff for me to play. The more stuff to choose from, different people have different ideas. You know, it's impossible pretty much to just replicate everything anyway. And the same thing kind of happened to Elsewhere when Elsewhere came out. Well, the trailer for it, the first version. Some people said, like, well, this Minecraft with mods, what's the point in making that? And the same logic here applies. First of all, I don't really know any games like that apart from Minecraft with mods, and that's not really a game, that's a game with mods, and I'll probably talk about this later. Same reason, why not? Why not have more? I mean, it's not like I'm gonna, you know, it's not like this is gonna destroy Minecraft. It's not gonna destroy Minecraft. Like, I'm just a dude making this at home. Like, I'm not gonna threaten Microsoft in any way. So yeah, and the thing is, when somebody says, well, this is Minecraft with mods, my initial reaction is to take this as a compliment, because I mean, it's incredibly difficult to make even just vanilla Minecraft. To actually one-up it in any way is incredibly challenging. And like, the thing is, when I haven't played this for a while, when I haven't worked on this for a while, when I launched the game, and just when I see it, I think to myself, wow, I made this? Like, this is pretty pretty impressive. So of course you don't have to appreciate it in any way. Like, I'm not asking you to appreciate it. And it doesn't make me angry when people don't like what I do, when they don't appreciate what I do, when they don't have, you know, the same attitude towards my work. That's not the point. The thing is, people genuinely don't understand why am I doing this, and this is what I'm trying to explain. Yeah, so the thing is, like, let's say I could have made, instead of this, I could have made like a mod for Minecraft, for example, right? I don't know if that is actually possible, because I don't know how much freedom there is in the modding, like API or whatever there is. But the thing is, would I be proud of what I've made within Minecraft as much as I'm proud of this? Would I have learned as much as I did making this? Well, no. It's obvious that I wouldn't be as much proud. And at the end of the day, like, as I've said, this is interesting, this is fun, this is challenging, and I learned something doing it. So that, if you want the reason, that's the reason, or at least one of them. Another reason, of course, is that I want to play the game, and if there's no game like that for me to play, there may be, you know, all kinds of reasons why, you know, something doesn't feel quite right, and so on. If there are no games like that, then why not, you know, make one myself? At the end of the day, you have to like what you do, and that's, you know, like, I'm not a marketologist, so my only strategy to make something good is to like what I'm doing. You know, I'm the audience in a way. The thing is, when you're making something, and I think I've talked about this in the comments to the previous video, I'm not sure if I can say it better here. The thing is, when you're trying to make something that everybody likes, it's very difficult to do. In fact, you have to, you know, you kind of have to get lucky in a way. There is a big chance that what you end up with is something that nobody likes, you know. But if you're making something that you like, then, well, at least you had fun doing it. And the thing is, we're not unique. People are not unique. We like the same stuff pretty much. So if you like something, there are gonna be plenty of people who like it as well. So that's kind of like a, you know, trade secret of some kind. Just do what you like. I mean, if you can, if you're good at marketing, if you feel the market, if that's interesting to you, you can do that instead, of course. But this is not something I'm good at, you know. I can make games. That's what's interesting to me. This is the same approach I used with Hearthlands, and Hearthlands wasn't a big hit, but it performed financially. It performed very well in my opinion. So I would love this game to perform the same way. So there is this kind of, mentality out there, business mentality. For example, when people ask you what are your unique selling points, and the thing is, I don't know how to answer that, because I don't think of game features in terms of unique selling points, because like when I was adding features to Hearthlands, I didn't think, oh, if I add that, I will increase my sales. No, it's just you play the game and you think, what would be fun to have? What would be interesting to implement? And you do that. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So when somebody does something and even charges money for it, it doesn't mean that they have a plan how to make it as popular as possible, or even care about it being as popular as possible. Because as I've said, well, it's pretty much out of your control, and trying to make something that everybody likes has a good chance and ending up with nobody liking it. So yeah, I don't know if you remember, but another thing about clones is that Minecraft itself started as a clone. So it was first introduced by Notch himself as a clone of Infiniminer, and before that I think it was based on his attempt to make a clone of Dwarf Fortress. So the engine started there, kind of. So even though the game began as a clone, it has gone a long way and is completely different now. So yeah, so another idea that I had after world generation is that I wanted to kind of have all kinds of resources. So for example, there's rubber here in the world that we have in the real world, and that you should be able to gather them and process them. So for example, you start in the wilderness with nothing, and you gradually move to like wind power, windmills and water wheels and things like that, and then you get steam, then you get oil, combustion engines, and even nuclear power at some point, and you can even go beyond that and have technology that we don't really have now, like I don't know, nuclear fusion, or like antimatter, even maybe like go into space. So this is the basic kind of idea for a game. Oh, I really like this biome. I think it's called lush wetlands or something. Let's see. No, this is deciduous. No, it's lush wetland grove. So I like that there are little pools of water and birches, and yeah, so I mean, I think it just looks great. This is the kind of biome where I want to build my house, although I'm not gonna do this in this video. It's gonna be even longer than it already is. So I hope that I explains at least some of the points that I wanted to make and address some of the questions that I'm getting about this game. And this video is already 30 minutes long or something, so in the next video I will probably talk about, well, not probably, I will definitely talk about what kind of blocks are in the game. There are many things in here, and how to use them, maybe some crafting recipes and stuff like that. I've been collecting stones and sticks, so I'll show what you can do with those. So yeah, so thank you for watching, and see you next time.